Welcome to the Rock.
Trump's plan to reopen Alcatraz has everybody talking about symbolism and immigration. But as a real estate professional, I see something that nobody is discussing. Yet when you look at the actual numbers, this proposal reveals a shocking financial reality. Because this isn't just impractical, it's mathematically impossible. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean.
A big announcement in terms of Alcatraz, reopening that prison. You're calling for the reopening of Alcatraz, saying rebuild and open Alcatraz. For far too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders. When we were a more serious nation in past times, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate the serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That's why today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent criminals. So that's a big announcement coming on social media today. And of course,
what is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Today, President Donald Trump just announced his plans to reopen and expand Alcatraz prison, and everybody is either celebrating it as a tough on crime masterstroke or condemning it as cruel punishment. But I'm looking at this through a completely different lens. As somebody who's analyzed and done real estate deals a lot, today I'm going to break down the actual numbers behind this proposal that nobody in the media is talking about, and to show you why that this plan faces massive financial and logistic hurdles that make it virtually impossible to implement. Let's jump into this. First, we need to understand why Alcatraz closed in the first place.
A new Truth Social post from the president in the last hour calling for the reopening and expansion of Alcatraz.
Trump's announcement today on Truth Social about reopening Alcatraz sounds powerful. In the past, we didn't hesitate to lock up the world's most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could do harm to. But here's what's missing from the narrative. Alcatraz didn't close because America got soft on crime. It closed because it was financially unsustainable. The Bureau of Prison itself determined that Alcatraz cost 3 times more to operate than other federal prisons. In 1959, it cost $10 per inmate per day at Alcatraz, compared to just $3 per day at any other maximum security facility. That's over $100 per day in today's dollars per inmate. After just 29 years of operation, the federal government concluded it was more cost-effective to build an entirely new facility than maintain Alcatraz. This wasn't a liberal policy decision. It was basic fiscal responsibility from the Bureau of Prisons. And that was before the building deteriorated another 60 years of saltwater exposure. The infrastructure issues alone would make the project a financial nightmare.
FBI and Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz.
Did you catch the part about substantially enlarged and rebuild? That's where the real economic challenge begins. But here's the most important point. The economics of this proposal simply just don't add up to me.
After Guantanamo Bay, will Donald Trump reopen Alcatraz prison to house illegal immigrants? The proposed facility will host more than 30,000 people who are part of the roundups and deportation efforts led by the Trump administration.
Alcatraz Island is just 22 acres in total, about 16 football fields. At its peak, the original prison only housed 302 inmates. Even with modern prison design, fitting 30,000 inmates would require building a massive high-rise prison complex on a little tiny island. Let me break down the cost. Modern prison construction costs approximately $100,000 per bed. For 30,000 inmates, that's $3 billion in basic construction costs. But Alcatraz would cost 3 to 5 times more due to the island's location requiring all materials to be barged in. Historic preservation requirements, environmental mitigation, seismic retrofitting for earthquake safety. and a complete infrastructure overhaul. We're talking water, power, and sewage. We're looking at $9 to $15 billion just for construction. That's more than the Prison Bureau's entire annual budget at $8 billion. Then there's the operational costs. Alcatraz has no natural water sources. Nearly 1 million gallons had to be barged in weekly just for the 300 inmates. Scaled out to 30,000 inmates, we're looking at 100 million gallons of water weekly. Every single supply, we're talking about food, medicine, staff. Staff must be transported by boat or helicopter. The logistic costs are astronomical.
Order comes as President Trump has been clashing with the courts as he tries to send accused gang members to the notorious prison in El Salvador without due process. President Trump has also talked about wanting to send American citizens there and also to foreign prisons. And you can just see some of these images there. Not far from the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz sits, and of course, notorious prison.
Now let's talk about the staffing. A facility with 30,000 inmates would require approximately 15,000 staff based on standard ratios.
Of course, lots of people are familiar with that notorious prison, as in a message he said they hope to reopen that former prison on a California island. Of course,
the announcement mentions rebuilding and expanding Alcatraz. But where would the 15,000 staff members live? Federal corrections officers typically earn anywhere from $39,000 to $95,000 annually. The median home price in San Francisco is over $1.3 million. Even a small condo starts at $800,000. These staffers would face multi-hour commutes from affordable areas like Oakland or Tracy. That's assuming if they could even recruit qualified personnel willing to make the commute. Then there's the transportation logistics. How would 15,000 staff get to the island daily? The current ferry system of Alcatraz handles about 1.5 million visitors annually. That's about 4,000 people a day. We need to transport 15,000 staffers daily, plus the service providers, maintenance personnel, and a bunch of other people.
Just off the Bay Area in San Francisco, Oakland, and beyond. So we'll see what happens with this as President Trump calls for the reopening of Alcatraz there by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So you can just see some of these waves there off the coast, obviously notable for the fact that it was nearly impossible to escape Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent criminals.
The clip mentions housing the worst of the worst, and I'm all about that. But the economics of staffing make this virtually impossible to implement on scale. Beyond the economics, there are massive legal and environmental hurdles.
Alcatraz Island is currently operated by the National Park Service as a tourist site.
The clip mentions Alcatraz is currently a tourist attraction. What's not mentioned, it's protected by the National Registry of Historic Places and managed by National Park Services. Converting it back to a prison would require congressional action to remove these protections. Environmental impact studies would take years. The island is home to protected bird species and surrounded by sensitive marine habitats. California's environmental laws are among the strictest in the nation. Then there's the seismic concerns. The Bay Area sits on major fault lines. Modern prison facilities require extensive earthquake retrofitting, especially on an island where evacuation would be nearly impossible during an emergency.
A spokesperson for the Bureau of Prisons said in a statement to the AP, the agency, quote, will comply with all presidential orders.
The Bureau of Prisons statement that they will comply to all presidential orders is carefully worded. They'll study the proposal, but implementation would face years of legal challenges and regulatory hurdles. Trump's Truth Social about reopening Alcatraz shows more about the message than practical policy. The bottom line is this: while the symbolism of opening Alcatraz is powerful, the economic and logistical realities make this proposal virtually impossible to implement. I don't know if this is the art of the troll. You let me know. Drop it down in the comment section down below. But if we're serious about addressing criminal, illegal immigration, there are far more cost-effective approaches. How about we expand existing detention facilities in strategic locations? We've already increased deportation process. We've already strengthened border security to prevent illegal entry. We've already implemented more effective vetting procedures, and we already created bilateral agreements with source countries. Doubling down on these approaches approaches would cost a fraction of the Alcatraz proposal while achieving the same objectives. Again, I'm all about strong border security and removing criminals and illegal immigrants, but as someone who understands real estate economics, I have to point out when a proposal simply doesn't add up financially. The Alcatraz announcement is a powerful symbolism and effective message. It communicates a tough stance on crime and illegal immigration, but as a policy, it faces insurmountable economic and logistic hurdles. I understand that we need to implement both powerful symbolism and practical solutions that can actually be implemented, and the American people deserve nothing less. If you appreciate this economic breakdown on the Alcatraz proposal, let me know down in the comments section down below. And also, let me know if you think that this was just simply the art of the troll. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.